instant classic last night. Nick Rudman on the randomizer, and then Pete drops a little hammer at the end of his show, giving us a forecast of the content schedule upcoming, and he doesn't mention Friday. He does not mention Friday. So what do? I swoop right in there, slide the DMs, and I go, this guy can't go one day. The face of basketball can't go one day without chatting a little basketball. So we get him on here. What's going on, Pete?
John's not kidding. I'm checking the timestamps. 9:18 p.m. The show was like literally a minute done. And he said, do you want to hop on? And I said, do I have 30 minutes for the Badge Bros? Of course I have 30 minutes for the Badge Bros.
We appreciate it. Appreciate it. Last night was fun. Last night was for a guy who wasn't going to eat veggies or drink beer, and we were going to try and shovel that down his throat. That was a lot of fun.
It was, yeah. And he had tipped me off ahead of time. Well, one on Twitter, he was like, flat out, I'm not doing the vegetables thing. So I was able to kind of, curate the prompts accordingly. But then on top of it, he's in New York right now. So not at his home base in Miami. And you know how it goes with your home. You got all your props. I'm envisioning just mountains of dumbbells and kettlebells behind him. But no, he's, staying at a friend's house in New York. So we had a bare bones setup there, but we made it work. He was a great sport and shocked me with his flexibility. I can't touch my toes. And the fact that he could do that as, I don't think people generally assume like big weightlifter types are that flexible. So that was a truly stunning revelation.
Especially for someone that like clowns on people for doing flexibility in the gym. Like he asked Davis on the Take cast, he's like, what are you doing flexibility for? Are you going to jump over a car? Like he just didn't understand. Like, and then to see him actually touch his toes, palms on the floor, I was beyond impressed.
You're right, because it'd be like someone saying like, oh, why are you trying to waste all your time dunking a basketball? That's stupid. And then you just are casually able to dunk a basketball yourself. It's like, hey, we can't do what you could already do. Let us work at it.
Yeah, come on. He's so good on stream, man. I'm surprised he doesn't do more appearances because he's just like, he's so funny, dude. He's so good on stream.
He did reveal, I mean, obviously he's one of the world's foremost New England fans. He said he's not a homer, a fan, but he did admit that he was a little nervous, rattled with that first one of just naming 12 Patriots wide receivers, which obviously he can do in his sleep. But there is something about being under the bright lights, about having that prompt sprung on you that makes you tense up. So it was fun to see even the unflappable Nick Rudman get a little deer in the headlights there.
I mean, isn't that exactly what you're going for with the randomizer, though? Every time you want that look. You want that look of like everything was comfortable for half a second, and now there's a little bit of sheer panic in my guest's eyes. Like that's the you made it button, right?
Yeah, it for sure. And there is, though, an element like, you guys know too, from when you started doing shows and you get more reps, you get more comfortable being on stream. Rudman, he's done some content, but he's not out here on streams every single day with us. So sometimes even I take that for granted when I'm doing shows with people who haven't done a lot of like, it is a lot to ask, not only to get your feet on stream, but also to do these random intense challenges. So when people are submitting the prompts at home and then, arguing in the chat about whether you fulfilled them or not, I will bring you on the show and I will run you through an 18-pick gauntlet and watch you wither into a tiny puddle. So think about that next time you are trolling my guests.
He's talking about you, John, on him for naming olive as a fruit.
Well, I mean, I was just listening to it. I was like, I've never even heard someone say olive is a vegetable. Like, it just caught me so off guard.
They say like endives too. Like for a guy that doesn't.
Yeah, endives was a crazy pull. Yeah,
he's nuts.
Yeah. Hey, okay. I actually want to ask this one sec, because do we know why he doesn't eat the vegetables? Like, is he like super like carnivore diet, like eat liver, heart, like that sort of thing? Or it's just
I don't think the vibe I've gotten from talking to him is it's not like it's a specific decision, and more just, some people grow up picky eaters. They never mix in vegetables. And then, you wake up and you're 33 years old and it's just not part of your diet, and it never is going to be. That's the vibe I get. And I think because he's so dialed in with everything else he does as far as his fitness and stuff, that you can, get away with it if you're optimizing every other little thing.
Okay. All right.
That's just my guess. You'll have to ask him. You'll have to bring him on and ask him.
It seems like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Because he says, like, he was talking about how he just eats because he doesn't want to have to like put thought into like what he eats. And if vegetables are just not part of that routine, then he's just never going to be.
I got a buddy who recently just switched like super into the fitness stuff as well. This is kind of why I asked. and he just switched into that, like, I don't eat, all my sugars are natural sugars. It's like as much honey as you want, as much berries as you want, and then he eats like raw liver and like raw organs and crap like this, and like no veggies.
Extreme paleo, it sounds like.
Yeah. That is the thing. If Rudman ever did want to pivot to like a Liver King-esque influencer, you lean into the no vegetables as being like an actual choice and not just like, I don't like vegetables. It's like, no, this is how you look like me.
Yeah, literally. Like that's kind of what was going through my mind. Like maybe I just have parallels of Liver King and him overlapping. Let's talk a little basketball. Actually, let's not talk a little basketball. I wanted to pick your brain on two major topics that we've been talking a lot about and the internet's been talking a lot about. That's like chalk and ownership in the basketball forum, and then some of the tight end stuff. I saw your short you made the other day about capitulating to 3, and we're definitely not going to 4, but want some real thoughts on that kind of stuff. But before we get there, special friend of the show, DJ Mitchell, had a request. The puck thought leader himself. We are all collectively, except for maybe Neumy, apparently. I think you should leave, guys. You've caught up on season 3. What are a couple of your favorite sketches?
Yeah, first things first, right before the show, we were talking about this, and Neumy was so confused. He was Googling it, and then he goes, oh, is that the hot dog guy? So Neumy knows this show from the single meme there, which was absolutely perfect. I also want to say real quick something about I think you should leave. Obviously, on Twitter, very popular. Everything gets immortalized in memes and GIFs and all of that stuff. But I've seen like a lot of people who I knew really liked season 1 being like, season 2 or season 3 is not as good, whatever. And I was like, one, we're all, this is America. Everyone can have their knee-jerk takes. But part of the reason people...
Well, it's 3/4. It's 3/4 America.
3/4, true.
This is...
Sorry to the Canadians there. This is the North America, I should say.
Yeah.
But part of the reason we love I Think You Should Leave is because of the fact it's been immortalized over time. These GIFs take on a life of their own. The show has this like meaning that transcends the sketches. And so when people are like, oh, it's not as good, it's like, no shit, because you haven't allowed the show to marinate. You haven't let the beats kick in and see the life of their own that they take on. So if you're poo-pooing I Think You Should Leave and you like the first 2 seasons, maybe just relax and chill a little bit, because I think of those sketches almost like a song, right? Where the first time you hear them, you're like, oh yeah, that's pleasant. But it's not until the 9th, the 10th listen that it really sinks its teeth into you. And then you really start to love it. And the other thing about the I Think You Should Leave sketches that they do so well is they are like songs in that they're so quick. Like they get in and get out. They're not belabored like a Saturday Night Live sketch that can go on for 8 minutes. And I do think it takes time to listen to that song, that sketch, the 3-minute sketch on repeat a few times, and then it really sinks your teeth in. So that's my preamble. My top 3 sketches, it's hard. I think I have 4 or 5. Definitely the Pay It Forward drive-through one is definitely up there. Obviously the eggs video game one. And then the one that's been surging for me lately, if you would have asked me a couple days ago, I would have said the Ronnie there for the wrong reasons. But the Jason Schwartzman at the party. What's that?
Just the Ronnie one.
The guy at the Bachelor spoof with the zip line.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
the multi-part,
where he's not there for the right reason. But the Jason Schwartzman one at the party where he says he's not going to talk about his kids, and then Tim Robinson has to create distractions for him. And then it's the beauty of the I Think You Should Leave sketches where the initial premise gets derailed for another thing where it's like, there's the don't talk about your kids, but it's about this crew of guys that all want to know the next dumb thing to do at the party. That one is hitting very hard for me right now.
Yeah, I totally vibe with what you were saying about like they do need to like marinate. The first time I watched it through, I was like, it was like funnier like the second and third time that I watched it. Like I had to like watch it like over again to get there. I do agree with that.
Well, the first time you watch it or show it to someone, their instant reaction is this is so stupid, right? Like that's everyone's kind of like knee-jerk.
I stopped showing it to people. I'm just like
right.
Yeah.
But then once it's true. Once you go down that rabbit hole and then get invested like we are, and then you watch it a couple times, I think that is for sure. I did a thing where I'm calling Monopoly on this one because I'm going to post it eventually. But I was watching it on my iPad or whatever when I was going to bed, and I was screenshotting the ones with like to get ahead of the memes. I was screenshotting it as I was going, right? And I was gonna make a thread of underdog with like lines that like, you know, from a draft, like this is what when you get sniped, and then it'd be like this. And I was gonna do like a in tandem thread of it. And then I went back to all my screenshots, and Netflix doesn't let you do screenshots on Apple anymore.
Yeah, that blacks out when
they're
you try.
all black. So now I have to go like rewatch it and like come up with it. But I was literally doing like notes tab, and I was so nerdy.
I think you just have to go to Andy's Twitter feed and just rip them all from there. That can be your repository.
Has he already put them all up, kind of thing?
He's blasted a bunch of them out there. Yeah, he's the king of screen grabs from I Think You Should Leave, as far as I know.
Yeah.
The one that you guys didn't mention yet was the heart monitor. I thought the heart monitor was so good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
like definitely.
The doctor's calling him every single time he's jerking off.
That was like probably one of my favorite cameos. Gosh, I forget that actor's name, but the doctor was one of my favorite cameos there. For me, my favorite was actually one that Tim wasn't even in. It was the Proposal Park. I thought Proposal Park was so funny. The wrestlers just showing up. It was whenever like it was a quick cut, like one of the wrestlers like slams and then he comes back to Zach. I forget his name. He goes fuckers. I thought that was so funny. Yes, of course. How could I? Tim Heidecker, of course. Every one of them is just so funny.
The corner 1-2. That's
Crooner is that's up there.
Neumy, where's your head at when you hear these things? Does this sound like a show that you want to embark on, or is it just like
I've seen like a few sketches? Like I've seen it. Like I don't know. It sounds like something I would watch, and then I don't know. Like for me, I probably have to watch just by myself without other people because I don't like watching a show and then getting other people's reaction because then I feel like I'm forced to not enjoy it if I enjoy it. But now, I mean, I'm just over here literally looking at like all of the seasons as we go, and now I just want to go back. I'm about to like literally leave studio and just go back to season one.
Studio,
and watch a couple here. But
here's the thing from the chat. They asked me my top 3. If you guys want to do a full power ranking, then everything can get included. But it's a tough exercise to narrow it down to 3 there, guys.
Yeah,
it is. It is tough.
Yeah.
And all right, let's talk some best ball so Neumy doesn't just completely glaze over and
okay. This is one that I was reading. This was sparked by Sam Sherman put a thread there yesterday about chalk in quotations. And then we had a conversation on the baseball show yesterday where we were talking about how like chalk in best ball like doesn't translate the way we like it to translate from DFS, right? When a guy is like 60% owned because he's a 4K running back and somebody's gone down, that does not exist in our contest because the highest threshold in which they could ever be owned in a daily contest is 16.6%, and the highest they could ever be owned in a BBM is 8.3, right? So we were kind of going down the rabbit hole of like, we're going too far with it. And this is weird for me to say because I'm like, peak GTO, bro. But like we're going too far with this combinatorial ownership thing where we want to get weird in the second and third round. We should just be taking the best path because the deviations from that path can occur way down the road if we deem it better than at the front end of draft boards, right? So okay.
Well, a few things on that. I agree completely. When I hear chalk in the DFS, that's used as a pejorative because it really is a bad thing. Chalk shouldn't be used as a pejorative as far as like best ball stuff. The equivalent, right, would be if on a Sunday of the DFS slate, you have your 9 spots on DraftKings or whatever, you have your chalky guys. But as the day progresses, the worst lineups in the contest get eliminated every 30 minutes. Right. And so a lot of that chalk is getting wiped out as you go. Okay. So 45% Dalvin Cook in some contest. Then at 130, the teams with the lowest scoring go, all right, now we're down to 36%. As you keep going, we enter the 4 p.m. games, we're down to 18% Dalvin Cook. So it's like that chalk is getting wiped out just the way those 3 uncorrelated tournaments work. And that's why I've been really pushing and really bought into this idea of dead roster spots early on in draft season, because I do really think the main thing we want to do with our lineups right now is just survive. And I will think a little bit about the combo stuff when we get to August, when stuff settles. I remember last year, like AJ Brown was just absolutely tethered to the 2-3 turn in Best Ball Mania. And I started taking him at the 1-2 turn, knowing, hey, people aren't going to have him there. But I think we're still way far out from needing to mess with those combos right now. Like it hasn't even crossed my mind really when I'm in a draft to think about combinatorial ownership at the top.
Yeah, like I fully agree with that, Pete. Like my next little like point that I had written down was ADP isn't stagnant, so chalk fluctuates. So once we identify like your AJ Brown example, where he's been there, he's been tethered to that draft slot for 4 months now. Well, now it's time to deviate in some slight capacity if we happen to roll that. But I do think we've lost sight of like the macro in terms of I have 150 bullets, and let's be honest, most people don't have 150 bullets for this contest, right? The sickos hanging out watching us right now and doing this stuff do, but like that's representative of me taking part in like 0.256% of all drafts. So like you're streaming 150 drafts, you're taking place in less than 0.2% of all total drafts, right? So what we deem chalk may not even be chalk, right? Like, so it's just a weird thing to think about. Neumy, Nez, you guys got thoughts on the whole debate here?
Well, my first thought is we have 46 watching and 16 likes. So take it just quick. Anyone, if you're new, you funneled in here for Pete. Hit the subscribe, hit the like, does us wonders.
Thank you,
Again,
Neumy.
leave a comment, whether positive helps, but just leave a comment. And we're learning new words, That's what we're over here on the side monitor being able to type it in. Google's great for that. But my first thought, and maybe this is bad, but I immediately started to think of that example of basically it's too early in the season to start deviating basically and trying to push up AJ Brown to the 1-2 turn. My thought was, how can I apply that to a daily? And how does it, because the only thing I'm in is dailies and dailies. And I immediately thought MLB, in which if you don't know, Pete, basically as the ADP updates, but as we get closer to lock, we get basically what we call these badges in there that just draft auto drafts, and they draft the same team. And you can go in there and kind of, just get these combos that you normally wouldn't get because guys are just drafting willy-nilly, just drafting the same team and giving you and all that. My thought immediately when you said would be like kind of the opposite. And just in terms of MLB, because I'm just thinking in dailies, would be to basically let the ADP dictate at the beginning, or maybe be more apt to get my stacks and do the AJ Brown at the 1-2 turn early in the MLB daily draft period. And then when we get later, that's when we can just kind of let the market and it dictate. And you're just like, all right, I'm going to get basically the AJ Brown at the 1-2 turn like everyone else is doing, because now you're going to get combos that are way just more unique because other people are going way out of their way to get different. And now you're just capitalizing by not only getting the best plays, but getting the best plays in combos that no one else has. And when you just bring that in with the ownership and how they're only 16.6% owned, if you can get those guys with just the best plays of like basically with them, and then the rest of the ownership with first round picks aren't as tethered with guys that are like basically lower in ADP because everyone was following it. I know this is me trying to go with my brain, but that's immediately when we bring up ownership. That's how I try and play it and tether it.
I think if you think of the things on the two ends of the spectrum, I mean, it makes sense, right? You're talking about what, like a 6-hour window that this stuff is talking about. You're talking about MLB, which is what, just as variant of a sport as NFL, reliant on, random events essentially. And then you're talking about the NFL, where we have 17 weeks where, obviously it's still a variant sport, but projections are going to get better as the season progresses, more games, more samples. So I do think like looking at those extremes, right? Like if we knew Best Ball Mania was going to close tomorrow, we would be blasting off, right? With some crazy combinations, because we would know this is the ADP. This is what we have, where in those MLB contests, you feel way more confident. This is set. Guys are drafting off of this and I can exploit it. I'm just less confident that we can exploit it right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that's a
well
good
put.
One other thing about
summary.
that conversation that I think gets lost a little bit when we're talking about the chalk and the uniqueness angle And there, again, people being like, oh, you're just drafting off of ADP value. You get unique drafting huge ADP fallers as well. You get the same uniqueness premium that you do reaching for guys, but you also get the ADP value bump as well. And I think that gets lost in the conversation. When people are talking about chalk as a bad thing, it's assuming you're taking every player exactly at ADP. Therefore, all of your other picks are directly correlated by ADP, and it's going to be more frequented in rooms. But when you get in one of my crazy rooms and I get J.K. Dobbins 20 picks past ADP, I am going to have him combined with other players that 99.9% of the field is not going to have him paired with. And so this idea that you can't, and I know this is our new buzzword, have your cake and eat it too here with the uniqueness and ADP thing is completely wrong. The ADP values are giving you a uniqueness premium.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think it's just like you said, right? It's like chalk and best ball is just not like chalk and best ball is technically just like lining up ADP and looking at a draft board based on ADP and saying like, looking at how guys line up and like that's chalk. Whereas, it's not necessarily the best plays. Like if you get a bunch of great values, like if you call that chalk, like it's more just like getting unique because you have like, you actually gained yourself like an extra like 14th round pick or something like that. So it's just like, I think the way that we use the word chalk, like you said, in best ball is just way maybe incorrect, just different. Like I'm really not sure. I just don't like, I guess I just don't like subscribe to the belief of chalk and best ball because like we talk about like getting certain guys to the finals. Like there's a reason that a lot of people draft 150 bullets is because you really are just hoping to get one in there and you're not really picky who you get in the finals if you get a team in the finals, period.
Well, yeah. Well, the thing is, like, if you do 150 of them, right? We hypothetically, like, if you think about it from don't think about the contest from a macro lens. Think about your own portfolio, right? If we do 150 of them, we're only rolling the 101 12.5 times, right? And that's theoretical. We could actually roll it 4. We could actually roll it 16, right? And if we deem the best path to then get a team like to the finals or whatever aligns with chalk, like we should still be taking that path because we literally can only do this 10, 12 times at most, right? So if you have your JJ teams and they all look the same through the first 5 rounds, I'm entirely fine with that because we're going to find natural paths to deviation later on if we deem that is the optimal path to start. I don't know. It's weird.
I was just going to say, the thing I think about of what I think you should actually be thinking about with chalk is chalk constructions in this idea of like, an example would be, like last year, if you were always doing 0 RB drafts, you were often taking Javonte Williams or Travis Etienne as your first running back in the 5th and 6th round, because that was the construction. I'm going to take my 4 wide receivers. I like the profile of this running back. And so now all of a sudden you have a structure that is proven to succeed in this tournament, but you are now so overweight on this structure succeeding based on a couple of running backs where you're there. And so to me, deviating from the chalk should be get the structures you want, but in different ways. And this year, the board really opens up with that, with guys like Joe Mixon, Dalvin Cook, however you feel about some of those guys, where you can run an anchor RB draft through the 6th round. You can start a 0 RB draft in the 11th round with some of these rookies. And so just saying, I have these structures. I know they're proven, tried and true. Let me dance around the board and execute these in different pockets so I don't have just the exact same anchor RB portfolio that is exclusively 3rd round running backs right now, which I know a lot of us have because it lines up so juicy. That's where I want to deviate from chalk.
I think that, forgive me for using a baseball analogy here, Pete, but I think that becomes the anchor ace of Verlander, where we bring in player profile to match build style. You guys remember when we were discussing how, like, I guess it was last year now, where it's like Justin Verlander, if he goes right, he's a top 3 pitcher, and we just know that definitively. And it was all like a health bet. So we started building teams where he was available as like ADP pitcher 16 off the board, right? Who's the equivalent for that this year with the hero running back? Well, Pete alludes to it as potentially Joe Mixon or Dalvin Cook, whatever. I think that's really sharp because we were building hyper fragile pitcher builds, but we weren't taking pitcher until the 8th round. Yeah, that's very interesting.
And it's just like, I get excited when I get into different pockets where it's not as comfy, right? Like if you think of, a lot of people love doing, say, a double anchor RB start right now. Say you're in a wide receiver avalanche room, you get Bijan and Austin Eckler. That feels good. Or everyone loves doing the third round anchor RB. I'm going to get the Josh Jacobs, the Derrick Henry or whatever. Or you're going to do the 0 RB and you're going to start with J.K. Dobbins or Aaron Jones. Whereas like now some of these where it's like, okay, the other day with Pat, I did one. I don't think I had a Bijan Travis Etienne one where I had like waited to get my double anchor RB in the third instead. And it's like, you're getting all of the same structural benefits, but you're just not doing it in the way that is like super clean in your mind of like double anchor RB. It's first 2 picks or, you know, whatever that is. And so that's where I think pushing outside your comfort zone into those pockets that aren't as comfy while still harnessing that structure makes a ton of sense.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. I think you are frozen.
Dude, that is a pathetic looking freeze frame too. Can we just appreciate how tragic is that for a freeze frame right now?
I thought you were just really into the thought for a second.
Very pensive.
Like I look like I got like my appendix just burst and I'm about to keel over and like just fall out of my chair. Holy shit, that's tragic.
How if you guys had a producer, a great I think you should leave callback would be anytime someone has a freeze frame, you do the crooner thing, like a PNG over that. So right now John has the hat, the stogie coming out of his mouth. Try
to make it look fake.
Oh man.
I think John should just get full screen right now is what I should. It should just simply be everyone talking while looking at that photo.
That's tragic. This is why you don't mess around with your setup, guys. Let that be a lesson. I'm gonna push the next topic and then I'm gonna try and fix this. But I don't know if you've heard, Pete, about the new trend of Moneyball, this term that Moneyball tight end that Nez has coined. It's sweeping the nation right now. Nez, can you tell us what Moneyball tight end is, and can we see if we can get Pete on board with us?
Sure. It was just my way of baseball explaining what like other people are already doing when it comes to these tight end builds, which is just like trying to recreate elite tight end in the aggregate. And on top of that, like hoping to increase your chances of getting a spike week tight end via volume, which is what everybody does, right? Everybody has their arbitrary cutoffs of like when you do 3 tight end and when you do 2 tight end. And I know that you are starting to do 3 tight end more. And I am as well. Do you have like a cutoff right now of like where, like who is your like last tight end that you would build a 2 tight end build with? And are you doing anything different with that, like that tight end that you draw the line at?
See, I think the cutoff thing is actually why I used to get in my head too much about not wanting the 3 tight ends, because I always thought about it in terms of draft capital spent at the position. And I would do the same way, like, okay, Evan Ingram, David Njoku, that's good. I'm done there.
Yeah.
And the reason I've shifted, 1, because I've been listening to enough smart people tell me it's viable, but 2, understanding it goes back to that dead roster spot thing. A lot of these tight ends at the back end of the draft project better than
they are not zeros. Like
they are not zeros.
I love
it's
that.
Like we might not like the Bucks, but Cade Otton is their fucking starting tight end, and he's free in every draft. And so there's that element of it too, of just you're getting a starter at the end of the draft. I also think they allow you to get that unique stacking partner as well. I like that benefit more with the 3 quarterback builds, lining up 3 different stacks. It still applies, to the tight ends as well. And so I have done a couple 3 tight end ones with like an Andrews or even a Hawkinson, because it's just like, all right, I have this Geno team. The best player available is one of the tight ends. I don't have a double stack with Geno. I'm going to tack on Noah Fant there as well. And so that's kind of how I've reframed it. And I'm not even thinking about it as much as draft capital spent at the position, but just how can I avoid dead roster spots? How can I complete stacks, bring backs, and just draft the best possible player with that 18th round pick?
Yeah, I think, and I don't know, maybe this is like just me anecdotally, but I do feel like we're starting to see more tight ends go in drafts. My 18th round isn't as flush with like starting tight ends as it used to be. And I think more and more people are starting to agree with that sentiment that 3 tight ends make sense for a myriad of reasons, like you said. Plus, they are flex eligible as well. So you're not just like jamming a roster spot with something that can't be used. It's I see what's going on in the back.
Oh my God.
That was so quick. Sorry, we have to pull
quick.
this up.
That was quick.
Coming to a thumbnail near you.
Oh my gosh, John, you got to give us one of these.
Yeah. Oh my God.
He's trying to make it look fake. He's trying to make it look not real.
Just slam it on the brakes right now. Oh God, that's funny. Oh, love it. that was such a tragic picture too.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm killing your overlay game.
No, you're good. You're good. I heard a pour there that you were trying to sneak in there, and you didn't give the people. You didn't. What are you doing? A sneaky low pour? The people come for one reason, Pete. You could have given us the goods. Is that a BBB exclusive?
Oh, well, it honestly, it feels like that because when I'm solo stream, I'm just trying to fucking chew up 2 hours, and a coffee pour just chews up an extra 30 seconds for me. Then I'm like talking with Pat, and I'm like sneaking in a pour because I'm like, am I going to really stop the Best Ball Mania champ from talking to me like, shut up about this strategy. I need to pour coffee next to my mic. So yes, I'm self-conscious about being like, everyone stop what you're doing. I'm about to fill up my glass.
Man, that would be a great, I think you should leave sketch where you were just like always the coffee guy and you just always had that canister and like someone's like, you know, all these like funeral setting and all of a sudden you're just like, shh, like this, like filling it up.
Speaking of the BBM3 champ, I like to do a little, and maybe to a fault, do a little hindsight analysis. And Pete, I know you can relate that to not making the BBM3 finals last year. Was there
that was so unnecessary?
Specifically,
what a dig for no reason. I know you can relate to not making the finals.
Can I like make myself feel better?
Be good at, yes.
We both got cactuses. I just want to make myself feel better.
Cacti.
Was there any? Have you done any hindsight analysis? Have you thought about like anything that maybe like you thought was like a mistake in your process last year that you were like porting over to this year's drafts yet? Or are you just like, my process was fine and I'm doing what I did last year essentially?
No, I mean, it does kind of go back to some of the structure thing we were talking about before. I think, and this is honestly one of the reasons I'm really enjoying live streaming all of my drafts, a lot of them with guests, is because it's pushing me in different areas. It is getting me outside of my comfort zone. I'm held accountable for every click I make because I have to explain why I did it every single time, or my guest has to explain it. I think when I draft or rip off a bunch on my own, and I'll even notice this if I'm firing at some puppies, like there's this comfort element to just going through the motions on a draft. And I think I did that a lot last year where I was doing similar stuff, selecting similar players in similar ranges every time and not thinking enough about what I was trying to do with a team. And I think the exercise of actually having to talk it out in the same way, if you're trying to get your thoughts gathered and you write it down on paper, it really kind of crystallizes for you what you're trying to do. I think streaming these is making me more intentional with my selections. And so from that regard, I do think that's a big shift I'm making from last year, where I was just being on autopilot, kind of going through my thing. And now I'm thinking about it, I think, way more critically in a way that I'm hoping is going to improve my portfolio this year.
Nice.
I think that's good. Like it forces you to play your A game, right? Like I used to autopilot playing poker all the time where it's just like, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. But if I were streaming or if I were making like training videos or something like that, when you have to talk about your thoughts, it's like, it holds you accountable. I think that's, maybe we should do more stream draft, guys.
It's funny. It's funny because I watch a lot of your stuff, Pete, and you guys talk about the stuff pre-pick. You give your guests, you kind of like decide who's going to be making this pick selection. Whereas there's no accountability on this end. Not going to put right here down there because normally it's talk. Let me finish the story, and then there's 10 seconds left on the clock. And any guys you were thinking of? Hold up, let me scroll up because I was in the depths of the basement, ADP, just checking out things, and then all of a sudden it's whoa. I mean, you could probably go on every draft and find 5 different picks where it's just like, you guys like anyone here? Oh, there's 7 seconds left on the clock, and we're.
Oh, Pete, this doesn't seem like a strategic thing. This just sounds like Neumy just absolutely venting and you guys needing to hash something out.
This is where we need the
Here's
Neumy
how-
emotes, man. This
John,
is where we
yeah.
need the Neumies.
John down there, like, oh, that sounds real nice, and it's like, does it? Because you just get it's right 10 seconds for anyone you guys like here.
How many subscribers are you guys at?
926.
They're gone now.
928.
928, and you want to get to 1,000 so you can unlock the Neumy emotes. Here's the deal. I did this on another because I'm doing all my streamed giveaway challenges. So if we were doing a draft, this would have been eligible for that giveaway. Get that comment juice. But I did this for Fantasy and Frames, that channel, the other day. I'll do let's do a $100 gift card to the store for anyone who leaves a comment. BadgeBros can spin it on a future show. We got new Best Ball Breakfast merch if that's your thing. Obviously, BadgeBro merch as well. Leave a comment. That'll be entered into a giveaway. You guys can do the drawing whenever you want. Let's get those comments up. Let's get 1,000 subs. If you're watching this, subscribe, like when the show's over. Leave a comment with your favorite I think you should leave sketch, or what you guys got any other prompts you want people to talk about in the comments?
Your favorite Neumy moment.
Your favorite
favorite Neumy tilt.
Yeah.
Favorite Neumy tilt. That'd be
That's
Yeah.
gonna decide.
Yeah,
There you
that might be too hard.
That's good. Thank you, Pete. Yeah, no, that's
that's
great.
amazing. Thanks, Pete.
Pete, did you actually? I'm gonna pull up we're gonna talk about little depth chart stuff. We stopped off at Dallas last week, but I know you kind of have a time crunch and whatever, so we don't have to go through like all the teams alongside us or whatever. But is there any ambiguous? We were kind of focusing on that WR3 battle and or running back 2 and 3 battles for team. Are there any that you top of mind are thinking of right now, trying to exploit right now, a spot where you have a lean as I pull up the depth charts?
Well, like I said too, how I was being pretty particular with the late running backs I was selecting, and basically after, the Chuba Hubbards of the world are off the board, where I feel pretty confident they're the RB2, I really hadn't been taking flyers. The one I started to mix in the past week was the Ty Chandler, anticipating the Dalvin Cook release and still acknowledging he might not be the 2. It could be Dwayne McBride, but just knowing we're going to guaranteed get some closing line value on Ty Chandler and McBride moving up. I wanted to capitalize on 18th round Ty Chandler, which I don't think is going to be a thing for a while. So that was the only one I was starting to get a little, what would you call it, fancy play with, of like, I'm going to try to nail who the true handcuff is there. But for the most part, I really have been avoiding these spots. Like, I'm sure all of us, you mentioned the Cowboys, like once we know who that RB2 is, we're going to be drafting that guy in the 14th round. But we don't know who that is right now. And I don't have the cojones to bet on Ronald Jones unless he's in the queue on a 5-puppy stream draft on Ship Chasing.
What do they say? 3rd time's a charm.
Yeah.
I swear to God, if they don't sign anybody, I'm mixing them in. I swear to God, if they don't sign anybody, I'm doing it. But
Sounds like a threat.
yeah, it's interesting. Ty Chandler, I've done like quite a few fasts recently since like the Dalvin news dropped, and Ty Chandler, it hasn't hit yet. Like I'm still I'm making the moves by taking him either in the 18th if I forget about him, or in the 17th if I remember. It's been a slow burn. Maybe it's different, and I mostly just do like puppies fast.
Is McBride
right now,
moving up in your drafts, or just neither of them?
Neither of them yet in the puppies. People like, I'm not sure if it was just already priced in, or like, maybe the puppies are just like maybe a little softer. I'm not sure, but yeah, I think it is interesting. Like the community is so like honed in that it's Ty Chandler, and probably for good reason. Like Ty Chandler's probably the safer bet, but it goes back to like what Pat and Eric BBM4 were talking about on like their stream. Everybody was so certain that it was Chris Evans last year as Mixon's backup, and then lo and behold, like boring old P Ryan like was like 100% like that guy. So I think there's definitely merit to mixing in both of those guys in the 18th for sure, or even a little bit of both if you're me.
Yeah, I think the reason I lean Chandler, at least right now, is because I think he has a couple more outs to hitting, in that Dwayne McBride, obviously, if Madison went down, I think would tote the rock a decent amount, but we just know he's not going to catch passes. And so with Ty Chandler, I think you have a chance at getting the pass catching back, just a little bit of floor usage, and then he might just be the preferred runner ahead of him too. So even in a situation where Madison gets hurt, I think it's a split backfield with both. But if it stays a logjam with Madison healthy the whole year, I could see Dwayne McBride being like a healthy and active some days, and Ty Chandler the second back. But I'm curious. I am pontificating about the Vikings. We have a foremost Vikings thought leader here. What's the deal, Neumy? Tell us the boots on the ground take.
I'll just start by saying I don't know if Alexander Madison is it. And everyone has just claimed that Alexander Madison is Himothy, and now he's just going to he's going to step into this role 3 downs. I just, from what I've seen from Alexander Madison, it's basically when he was the chalk in DFS, he would disappoint. And then basically from what I've seen when he filled in, even he was a good serviceable backup, but nothing from his profile screamed, this guy is a 3-down back and a workhorse. I'm interested to see what just the organization says coming out and what their plans are. But yeah, I see, sure, maybe they try it, but there's nothing basically that locks them into, if he struggles at all, this is like, got to continue rolling out his workload out there. They're going to give these young guys what they, a chance. And the thing is the regime coming in, drafting Chandler and McBride is a good thing. So yes, they re-signed Madison, but I think it was just basically, we know what we're going to do with Cook. He's going to be cap casualty. We can't go into the season with just Dwayne McBride and Ty Chandler. And basically, if we're not going to draft someone. So that was the thought going in.
Doesn't this feel like Mike Boone versus Alexander Madison camp battle like 2018 or 2019 all over again?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I'm getting huge Darrell Henderson vibes from this Alexander Madison jump up too.
I like that. I like that. Yeah, Gus Edwards all over.
Like when Akers went down and Henderson.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you
think he's going to rise that far too?
I mean, Henderson rose to, it was like the 4-5 turn. I think Madison could. It would be hard, but I don't think it would be shocking. I mean, the running backs in that range are. I mean, you're talking about what? Aaron Jones, Joe Mixon's now going up there. That would not shock me. And I get why it happens, right? Like projections are going to update. You are going to have to project the lead back on the Vikings. Madison's going to project the best, therefore. But that literally gets us into the conversation of a dead zone running back. Alexander Madison is now the screaming Darrell Henderson or Mike Davis prototype dead zone running back where, yes, could it break in your favor? But a guy who doesn't check passes that we're all just, thrusting to the top of the depth chart without a lot of certainty that it's Himothy, as Neumy would say, that's how you could get in trouble. So I don't know. I think the people who were grabbing Madison before this, knowing it was going to happen, were very sharp, getting 8th, 9th round Madison. Those are 0 RB prices. I think he's now going to be in very firm dead zone prices in an extremely risky pick.
And I agree with Casey, right? I think like the people that are drafting him above ADP like fail to realize that like this release was being priced in by like probably like 10% of drafters. And I thought TJ Henderson or Hernandez from 4for4 made a really good point. Like it was like really eloquent. Like I don't know why I didn't like think of this. Like it takes one person to like raise an ADP, but it takes like a village for a player to fall. And like and there's probably like a subset of drafters that were like already taking Madison like ahead of ADP already, and it was already priced in, but like 90% of the field doesn't know that, and now they're going to get him juiced even more. I really anticipate not drafting a lot of Madison moving forward, and I think we all kind of agreed with that.
These are the new ETR ranks. They've been kind of bullish. They have Madison at 51, I believe, something like that. So they still project, 20 spots of ADP growth there.
And they will drive. That's another thing. If they have him ranked there, then that's where his ADP is going to settle. I mean, we just did this with Rondale Moore, right? I mean, they are aggressively priced on Rondale Moore, and he's been screaming up. And I think he will anchor relative to where they have him drafted, because you go back to that thing. It only takes one person in a draft. I mean, the average draft's going to have one ETR user probably with ranks in there. Like literally this will happen. This will happen quickly. Let's just call it right now. Alexander Madison, 4-5 turn pick rest of the summer.
Yep.
Sheesh. Yeah. I will have no Alexander Madison then. Godspeed into the season. It's going to be tough.
Is that hard for you to say, Neumy?
Well, I'm gonna have no Vikings at this point. They're all just. I mean, TJ Hawkinson's price I don't like. It's came down a little bit. I can't get a 101 to save my life. I'm not Pete. Sorry. And then it's just Jordan Addison just goes a little too high for my liking. So yeah, I'm gonna have like at this point it's just like I'm gonna watch them just basically the Lions of last year and just shoot out and have none of them. Tough scene.
I think we'd be remiss to have this conversation and then not touch on Dalvin Cook. Do you have a preferred landing spot and or prediction for that, Pete? And what are you doing with him right now?
Yeah, I did take a couple shares pre-release when he dropped pretty far. I think the thing, everyone is like wanting to wish cast to the best possible spots, but I actually don't think a lot of the best possible spots are actually the best. And I think there's not a ton of clean spots for Dalvin Cook. Like I honestly, people get excited about Miami. I think that's a bad landing spot for Dalvin Cook.
I think it's really bad.
There's 3 running backs that are better than him there. There's my hot take. I mean, one, I don't think it's going to happen. And 2, I do think it would be a bad spot for him. I think he would get, 8 to 10 touches a game in that offense and be a very volatile fantasy play relying on touchdowns.
Yeah, adding to the Miami notion that they've signed both those guys to 2-year, $8 million deals, and they spent draft capital on the running back position. I just don't get why they would do the Cook thing.
I think the best spots would be like if you're looking for a clean spot, honestly, go to Tampa Bay. You push Rachaad White back to the 3rd down, get all of the early down work on the Bucs. That would be a good volume spot for him. And then the other 2 would be go to the backfields with these guys coming off injuries, the Jets with Breece Hall or the Broncos with Javonte Williams. You could play the Joe Mixon to Samaje Perine in Denver. You could play, the Breece Hall there if he's not completely ready. Those seem like the next cleanest spots for him, but there's not a lot of clean spots for Dalvin Cook right now. I don't really think he should be a riser, but we just know how the market works, right? When he lands on a team, he will inevitably rise again, I think.
Yeah. It's an interesting conversation though, because like, if we think he has anything left in the tank, let's talk about how thankless an endeavor it is to be a running back in this league. I mean, he's had 2 seasons over 1,500 yards and 4 straight over 1,000, and he's finally going to get some of that money to be like, yeah, I'm set for life kind of stuff. And he just gets cut. Like, it's just like, and all he's done for the organization is 1,000 yards and over 5 touchdowns each of the last 4 years or something like that. Just like, oh God, like we sit in our comfy chairs and be like, yeah, cut this guy. Like, it's like that guy's livelihood. That sucks, man. But,
And the way Dalvin Cook always did it, like when you look back on those running backs who had great seasons, like typically in this modern era, they look like Le'Veon Bell, David Johnson, CMC, Austin Eckler. They're catching a ton of passes. Dalvin Cook always did it with extreme efficiency on the ground. And what's going to be the first thing that these guys lose as they get older, right? It's that Dalvin Cook was fully capable of ripping off 75-yard runs, run to daylight type of back. At this age, new system, all of that, then you start to really question that. Whereas a guy like Leonard Fournette, his game could age so gracefully because he was so good at catching passes. I think it is fair to wonder about Dalvin Cook. I mean, if he's a trap back where he's only getting 8 to 10 carries between the 20s on a bad offense, like how is he getting there?
Yeah, good point. Any other spots? We could just go back down the list and start where we were at. But are there any other fun spots that come to mind where we can have a couple debates here? I think this one's kind of fun because we've kind of been Joshua Palmer stands in the 18th round. I don't know if it's by design. I think it's just by like what's available back there. And we look at like a path to playing time sort of thing. We've been kind of a little bit off the Quentin stuff at his current ADP and then just taking the dart throws on Joshua Palmer late. Any other kind of situations like that come to mind for you, Pete?
I mean, real quick on the Chargers thing, I'm in on Quentin Johnston, but to your guys' point about Joshua Palmer, like if you look at the depth charts for the Chargers and the Jags and you say Keenan Allen as the Calvin Ridley, you could do Mike Williams as more the Christian Kirk. And again, I'm not talking about specific profiles, but just like their pecking order. And then say you did Quentin Johnston as more like the Evan Ingram. Like Joshua Palmer is like the Zay Jones, right? That 4th option on the team. And yes, we can argue Zay Jones is better than Joshua Palmer, whatever. But there's like a 7-round gap between where those guys go. People are so excited about the Jags and Zay Jones is the 4th option, and he goes in the 11th or 12th, and Joshua Palmer is free. And they both offer similar contingent upside, right? If there was an injury and now they're on the field in all 2 wide receiver or 3 wide receiver sets, I do think that is a little off. And I have taken a little Josh Palmer when I've gotten boxed out on Herbert stacks. And so, yeah, compared to the Zay Jones thing and some of those other guys, I really do like the price of Palmer there.
Yeah, and you want to talk about like the uniqueness at back end of draft boards. Everyone and their dog that sets up that like 5th and 6th round right now of Keenan Allen or Mike Williams, and then gets Justin Herbert on the wraparound because nobody else will pick him off until the drafter of that player or Eckler takes him, right? If you just take naked Justin Herbert in that range where we think his ADP is a little bit of a value, at least we're kind of in tandem there, and then you stack it with Gerald Everett and Joshua Palmer late, there's kind of a unique path to an offense that we think's good that could get an upgrade with Kellen Moore that nobody's taking, right? So you want to talk about contrarian paths to a decent ownership? I think there's something there.
And one thing that kind of lines up with the Herbert stuff when you actually look at the current ADP. So, Eckler going on the 1-2 turn, Keenan Allen going on the 3-4 turn. If you're picking from the 11 or 12, then you are looking at picks 84 and 85. Quentin Johnston sometimes will fall there, but in my drafts, he always goes before that. So you often can get boxed out and again, Herbert going at the 5-6 turn, he's often falling there. So that's one to kind of like file away too. If you get one of Eckler, Keenan, and then Herbert, like it does, that kind of lines up on the back end for a Charger stack at value. And then you just put in Everett and Palmer in your back pocket if you want, because that I think would be my preferred configuration. One of Eckler, Keenan, Herbert, and then the super cheap backdoor there.
Yeah, I like it. I'm going to bring up Neil's comment because I'm not smart enough to listen and or read at the same time. But when Neil says something, I pay attention because this dude's smart and underappreciated on Twitter. So go follow him. Yeah.
Yeah, one thing I would say to that is I'm still a firm believer that running back talent matters, or at least isn't fully baked into the market. Whereas I think running back projectable volume is fully baked into the market. And so if you are looking for stuff where there are edges, it is getting a little player takey with running backs that you think can actually succeed when given the opportunity.
I like that. Yeah. Let's jump back to here. We were talking about, actually, I want to get your thought on the Chicago backfield, because it was a debate that we had last show, and there was a question in the chat about it. Do you have a favorite out of this grouping whose ADPs are basically all 20 picks apart in the middle rounds there, and a little bit of zero RB target E?
This one is tough. I forget which show I was on, and I was saying, like, how do you rank the Chicago Bears running backs factoring in cost? Because I do think with cost, they are all like nearly perfectly priced. I believe I have the most Deontay Foreman right now. And this is similar to me having a lot of Jeff Wilson and a lot of Kendre Miller. Like, we have these 3 backfields, right? Where there's 3 running backs. They're all going in the double-digit rounds. The market doesn't know who the top 2 are going to be, much less the one. And everyone's shrugging their shoulders. And man, the prices you're getting on Deontay Foreman and Jeff Wilson right now are just so good that that's my preferred way to play it. But then I'll do shows with like Sean Siegel, who's still really high on Khalil Herbert just as a talent and what he can do there. And so I'm feathering in all of these guys. I am kind of just taking the market, trusting the market on this one, and knowing I think one of these guys is going to be a huge winner, like going to absolutely smash their ADP. And I want teams with all of them, but I do end up the most right now with Deontay Foreman, because you can get him at like pick 170 in some of these drafts.
Yeah. I think
I like that you said that, because I'm at like 20-something% Herbert and equally as high on Roshan with like 10% Foreman. So I'm just like trying to get a piece of like this entire backfield. I'm just really high on the Bears offense, and I want, cheap access to it. And this is like the best way to do it right now. Sorry, John.
No, you're good, man. Yeah, I was just thinking about like when you brought up Dolphins, Saints, and Bears backfields. I think the teams that we're going to look for and like roster bait over in like 4 months from now are going to be teams that you just alluded to, where we hit on 3 pieces of these ambiguous situations and you go, holy shit, look at the closing line Pete has on this team, because he has Foreman, Wilson, and Miller one out in that backfield and Kamara suspended. And it's like, now their new ADPs are 60, 80, and 85. And it's like, wow, he's got them at 180, 160, and 122, right? Like, I think those are the ones that are going to, and I mean, we've talked a lot about how like zero RB drafting now this early comparative to drafting late, we know so much less, they don't perform as well. But if you want to talk about spiking on an outlying, just like one construction, that's how it's done right now. Just pairing like all 3 of those, taking a stand, and I don't really care who the stand is on a given roster, right?
Yeah, and the other thing about that is, obviously, if you end up with the 3rd guy on the depth chart, it's probably going to be a dead roster spot. You're going to probably take the L on those. But I don't think the 2nd guy is dead at all. I think the 2nd guy in all 3 of these backfields is one going to have standalone value and just have massive contingent value. Like I think of A-Chain and Mostert, you know, kind of having a similar role. And whichever one of those guys is playing weeks 15 through 17, I think they're going to be a smash too. So I'm with you on that. And I think you almost get 2 cracks at it when you take these guys where, you know, 2/3 of the time you're right. And one of the 3 will probably be a landmine just by necessity of these teams aren't going to be able to support 3 running backs.
Yeah, I like that. We are drafting. This is a big,
I'm gonna
a
get
big
going
looming.
here in a sec.
This is, because I was about to say, this might be the one and only time you see Pete on stream this summer where he's not partaking in a draft, because the original thesis was Pete was going to give us 30 to 40 minutes. He's been here almost an hour. I wasn't going to say anything because we'll just keep him on. But Pete, whenever you got to rock, by all means, any last ambiguous situations that we want to hit on and or talk about. We talked a little bit about Ford and as like, is his price tag correct right now, just given the fact that it looks like there's nobody behind him on the depth chart, and the Chase Brown in that same capacity. Maybe a little parting thoughts on either of those 2 and we'll call her.
Well, here, I'm going to pivot your question just a little bit to ones that I want your guys' feedback on, because going back to this idea of trying to only draft running backs we're certain are the RB2 and might not be the RB3. I have been drafting the rookies, Tank Bigsby and Tajay Spears, like they are the number 2. But there's a little part of me in my head saying, am I just getting caught up in rookie fever? Could there be a chance that they aren't? Or so how would you guys assign the likelihood that those 2 backs are in fact the running back 2, the biggest beneficiaries to a Travis Etienne or Derrick Henry injury on those teams?
I would say it's pretty well. So I guess for the Titans, like Hassan Haskins, like he had a little bit of run last year and like, you know, didn't really, I mean, like he had I think like 2 games where Henry was out, where he was able to be in there. I think he's probably way more of a factor than we think. If Henry were to go down, I think it'd probably be 50-50 unless like Spears ran away with it. And I don't know that Spears is necessarily the talent to completely run away with it, but he's been getting a lot of buzz. So I think that that's like a pretty decent bet, and getting the Texans twice in the playoffs. I mean, if the Texans are,
people forget.
They do forget. Spears is also a Titan. That would be beneficial if the Titans are as bad as we think. And Bigsby, I think if the Jaguars, I mean, maybe it's not a good idea to wait and see, or maybe it could not matter. I would just want to see that the Jags don't sign one of these like dusty vets to back up ETN, because I'm pretty high on ETN, but everybody else that I've listened to said like, ETN wasn't as good as, you know, maybe I think. And if there is no addition there, then I think I'm probably bumping up ETN and Bigsby, but I just want to see that they don't add another back there. But otherwise, if they don't, then I think we can pretty confidently say Bigsby is the RB2 in that backfield at least.
Yeah. And the reason I ask is because I do think if you knew for a fact that those guys, Spears and Bigsby, Spears specifically would probably move up into that Jaylen Warren range. There is still just like a little bit of uncertainty there. And so that's why I'm trying to weigh, are you getting a nice price on it, Or are you starting to play with a little bit more fire? And it is closer to, say, the Bengals backfield that you mentioned, where it's like, we want it to be this rookie, but now we're starting to hear some stuff about Travion Williams. He's been the guy in the system. You could just be completely wrong about it.
Yeah, I'm personally waiting. I'm waiting to see if there's a foot to drop, because we've got four running backs with Dalvin Cook who have yet to sign, who I do think are going to sign in Hunt, Fournette, and Zeke. And it's gonna really, like, I think, throw some water on some of these backfields that we are so certain are the way that they are. And I think the Chiefs are one of them. Like, we're seeing a lot of Deneric Prince chatter right now because Pacheco isn't on the field yet. He's recovering from offseason surgery. If one of these vets signs there, like, Pacheco is going to get, some water thrown on him. But it's very interesting.
And that's a really good point about what happens when, I always call it the bombs going off in the backfield, whether it's a free agent signing or them drafting someone, of, a bomb going off on your Tajay Spears selection at pick 180. You might be able to survive a Leonard Fournette signing there or whatever. But Leonard Fournette signing where Alexander Mattison is, that just wipes out a team, because you need Alexander Mattison to be, such a massive smash for you, just the way this tournament's structured. Whereas say one of those running backs, like just backfield where Dalvin Cook was. I mean, Madison probably moves back to like the 9th round, right? As a pick, if they signed a Leonard Fournette or a Kareem Hunt even.
Definitely. Yeah. The market would be in shambles if that happened. It would for sure. We'd see a pretty steep drop for sure.
I think
so we're talking about not gambling with 17th round picks because we don't want a dead roster spot. I mean, this then goes back to why the dead zone is so dicey, because it really can blow up a pick.
Yeah. I think there's some fun around the Spears one because we've been burnt before, right? We've played this handcuffed Derrick Henry game so many times with the next back. And now I think it just lives in people's mind that it's just like, this guy might just be a superhero and it might not matter, right? I do think the bringing in a vet in Tennessee would make a lot of sense if they go get Hopkins. If they go get Hopkins and they go, hey, man, we're doing it. We're staying with Tanny on his last year. We're staying with Derrick Henry on his last year. DeAndre Hopkins on a 1-year deal. Now they're bringing somebody else in there. They're not running with just Spears as the second guy. They go and they get, hey, look, we're doing this to win now. Let's bring in I don't know who it would be. Lenny Fournette fits it very nicely, though.
All right, guys.
Cool.
Thanks, Pete.
Yeah, thanks, Pete.
We're holding you to that giveaway.
Leave a comment when the show is done. We got to get the Neumy emotes going. And you know what? One of the emotes needs to be Neumy photoshopped onto Tim Robinson in the hot dog outfit in there.
That's good. I like that.
I love it.
Fun as always. We'll do a draft here later this summer together as well, guys.
For sure.
I'll catch you later.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Pete.
Fun stuff. Nice of him to take some time and drop by on his scheduled off day, scheduled rest day.
Yeah, that was nice. Good job, John, jumping on that real quick, making sure that that there was no absolute way that he was going to miss that.
I mean, the guy does not have a break in his schedule at all, right? Like he did like 8 or 9 drafts the other day on Wednesday. He did like 8 or 9 drafts.
He's like a third of the way done.
Yeah, it's crazy. But so the minute you see a little lapse in the defense, you got to exploit, right? I saw a lapse in the defense. I saw an off day. I was like, we're getting in there.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Yeah, this conversation that conversation like just really has my gears turning. And we kind of talked about it already, but like once these vets sign in situations that we think are just like so golden, I really think there's some situations that can get murky. And one that I'm hoping like doesn't happen because I have so much Zach Evans is the Rams. There was so much talk about Kareem Hunt being a Ram last year. Maybe a little smoke potentially there. But yeah, like once these guys sign and just like seeing once the smoke clears, like then I think I can feel more comfortable taking these rookie running backs, because otherwise like it really does feel like wish casting, at least based on my results of doing such in the past, where I'm like, oh, I've got like so much contingency locked up, and then it never hits, and then I'm left with low advance rates.
Yeah, no, I mean, you talked about it at length about not taking zeros at the running back position. That was your pitfall of last year. And when we start doing stuff like this, we open ourselves up and we expose ourselves to that potential, right? Couple housekeeping before we do this BBM. I give some shout outs to friends of the show in here. If you have not before, do as our friend Michael Zimmerman here. Much appreciated.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, be more like Mike. Everyone be like Mike.
You're forgiven.
Yeah, be more like Mike. Yes, and this is evergreen. Yes, Pete's the GOAT, man.
John, what would you say? Sorry.
Yeah.
If I told you that we are 69 subs away from 1,000.
Nice.
I might have said that. I might have said that.
Nice.
I love it. GPN GC in here. Andrew, shout out big last night. 6 bullets. Just to tell you that unlike basketball, it is not a volume race out here in the baseball streets. If you build smart, logical, constructed. Oh, we're on the clock. Tyreek Hill?
Yeah.
Tyreek at 5. Yeah.
If I had 6 lineups, I could win 2.
Yeah, right? There you go. That's beautifully put, Neumy. If I had 6 lineups, I could win 2.
Oh, wait.
But shout
I
out
could
to
have
him.
6 lineups. Very
shout out to him last night for taking down, was it the main one or the afternoon only one that we did?
I think the afternoon, right?
Afternoon one. Yeah, the daytime diamond. Yep. Shout out there. And then Sam Olsen took down the other one. I don't know who took down which, but
that's evergreen.
Shout out to them. That's beautiful. Love to see the brigade getting after it. Just another feather in the cap of the good people hanging out in the Discord. If you are not doing that, we are part of Pete's Deposit Kingdom Discord. Link in the description below. But winners stay winning, and it has nothing to do with us. We just bring the people together.
It was the daytime one, by the way.
Daytime. Love it.
I just looked it up.
Beautiful. Yeah, there you go, Chip. T-Box and I tied for last in the main one. Hey, if you're not first, you're last. That's what you want to be. That's what you want to be.
He is not kidding. That is so funny. Guess how many points they scored?
Last place?
Correct.
They probably had Graham Ashcraft, so they had like the minus like 4 or 5 at pitcher or something like that.
Justin
14
Verlander
points.
Did.
Oh, it was the main one, Verlander.
14 points.
Yeah, that's a good guess. I think 8. 8 points.
Yeah, it was 8. Way to go.
Wow, nailed it. How many did Verlander get?
2.
2
Not many.
Wow.
I wanted to wait to bring this up with you guys because I knew with Pete, I didn't want to hold him hostage to more MLB talk, and I don't want to derail it. But just trying to it's in the same ecosystem of Underdog, and it's the same draft style concept. So when I heard basically when you're like you're drafting and you're letting the ADP values basically kind of like load themselves up, and you're getting that way. For some reason, my brain like switched it to stacking, and it's like you don't need to go out of the way to stack. Like if you're 5 stacking teams, we're up here.
We're up. Tony Pollard, Jonathan Taylor.
I think Jonathan Taylor for the value.
Yeah.
Yeah. You think so? Yeah.
There's obvious question marks, but I mean, if you're not going to get him at pick 20, like when are you going to get him?
Yep. Good point. Yeah. I mean, Pollard's always going to be available here.
Just
or not always, but right now.
How simple it basically is, and how I think I'm overthinking it when in terms of just when we talk about chalk, and it's like I think, oh, this stack is going to be chalky, and then it's like, okay. But then we really get down to like they're only 16% or 16.6 owned or whatever you want to say, whatever it was, right?
Well, the first piece is only 16.6% owned.
But then that's what I'm saying. But then that's what I wanted to say. But then I think we also have to do what you said with that 6-leg parlay and do the same, or with the 5-leg parlay. Sorry, not counting the pitcher. But you do the same thing with the stack, and it's the same player because would you not do if they're drafted that way? But then it gets even less because that player isn't necessarily 16.6.
So are you talking best ball or NFL
daily? It's basically
daily baseball.
And it can be NFL daily itself, because you can do the same thing when you get the quarterback, and it's like, I'm going to build out these game scripts, but rather than get Geno Smith and Tyler Lockett or DK Metcalf, I'm just going to simply go and make that a Geno Smith and make it one of them Jackson Smith, one of them Noah Fant. And just by pulling that one lever, I know we already talked about the levers. You really, that's as far as you need to go. And then it's just in terms of NFL, you go get your projectable points. You know what I mean? You've already pulled that lever, and that's already going to differentiate yourself. But just to put it in MLB, you're already getting so unique that it's like, I think, okay, now I need to start adding bottom of the barrel. It's just like, just go get the top of the lineup guys and throw in one bottom of the lineup guy. You know what I mean? Or just simply, and I'm just trying to play that in terms of
you effectively saw it last night, and you didn't even have to go to a bottom of the lineup guy.
Exactly.
The one that won with Sam Olsen was a one-off Brandon Nimmo. Like, who the fuck's doing one-off Brandon Nimmo, right?
Not
and
you.
He's a leadoff hitter. Definitely not me.
Yeah.
But like, it's very interesting because your thesis holds true there, Neumy, where if we deem a stack is chalky, this is a very strange draft, guys.
Holy shit.
Patrick Mahomes. I know we don't have a stack there. I'm just throwing it out there. Nez already put up the fact that how generational and what he puts up without a running quarterback. We've already went through that. Your guys' thoughts real quick with 10 seconds.
I think it'd be a crime if we didn't take Patrick Mahomes here. This has got to be 0%. This trio here has to be 0%.
I mean, talk about the back stacking options that we can deploy here for the Chiefs. Like, it's available.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the ownership thesis, right? The ownership thesis that we were just having the conversation with Pete, where you catch falling ADP values instead of thrusting ADP values, and you fall into uniqueness just in the same capacity. Look what we just did by sitting here and having a conversation, and we didn't even really target any of these players, but we know we're going to be able to fill it out later. Is we just catch, at ADP, falling ADP, and maybe we have a unique structure based on the combinatorial. I will look it up. For those of you hanging out who do not normally hang out here, we have a whole bunch of stuff, free resources, tagged, pinned in the Deposit Kingdom Discord. Thank you to Baseball, Chris. Thank you to Chad Lee with a bunch of numbers on Underdog. And thank you to John Boy Beats, JBB, who have basically done a whole bunch of free research so that we don't have to. And this will be one of them in 1 second as I pull it up here to tell us our pooled draft boards in terms of combinatorial ownership, how well we are doing here.
I think to carry this conversation over to look forward to NFL dailies and how we are going to be using the field. I think the problem that we were trying to solve with these daily contests is ownership and how to think about ownership. We know by math that if a player's drafted 100% of the time, they are on 16% of teams. That is a problem that's been solved. But the problem is, how do we actually leverage it? And I think the way that you do leverage it is what we do in our Discord, thanks to Chad, is we look at a small sample of how often stacks are taken and how often run backs are taken, and using that as ownership, a la the way that we use ownership in DFS, because that can be greater than 16%. So now we are very much aware of combinations that are taken at a clip that can be 100% theoretically. Right. I think that is I've been thinking about it a lot. I think that is how we are going to be using ownership, so to speak, when it comes to these daily contests. And that doesn't mean you avoid the Mahomes Kelsey when you get it, but thinking about ways to differentiate when you do get it, and whether that's scrolling down a lot, scrolling down a little, it's what makes these dailies so fun. And I'm so excited for daily season and what the prize pools are going to look like.
Sorry. I want to comment on that in 1 second. We're on the clock again here. I think we caught ourselves in a Pete spinoff room here. We got KZ and JG on the end here going all this.
Hit wide receiver. I think it's Kirk, unless I think it's Kirk.
DJ Moore.
That side of the board has no wideouts. They're going to need wideouts. Oh, Moore is interesting too, but I think Kirk is probably the better pick.
Yeah, I mean, Handle Cunningham over there has got freaking 0 wideouts. Everyone else, 1. Yeah, so
Yeah, I think we caught ourselves in an avalanche there. As much as I would like to potentially take Gibbs or potentially take ETN in the fourth, I think we just got to go ahead and do that. Yes, Nez, about the ownership. I think Neumy, it's kind of a slippery slope to be going back and forth between BBM and dailies. And having that conversation is like two completely separate entities. And I don't think we can port the knowledge. That's the first thing I would just say, because theoretically it's correct to do so, but like one's a time box contest and one's an elongated time window contest. So I think there's like a very different analogy there for understanding combinatorial ownership. Like, that being said, what you're saying holds completely true. And finding out like the factor of like stacks, as Nez alluded to, is the exact exercise we should be doing and projecting towards. How we best do that, I'm not exactly sure. But like the way in which you articulated it makes a lot of sense. That would just kind of like be my 2 cents. As to this combinatorial ownership of our start, according to the 200 drafts which we have compiled, we are saving our draft boards. We are sharing them in the Deposit Kingdom Discord there. And then Chad puts them all together so we can do actual fact-based analysis here. This is 0% owned so far this start. Wow. The entire side of the board didn't take wide receivers. Do we just go ahead and take Godwin here, or do we do ATN?
Shit, dude.
We do ATN and we set up a Jacksonville sort of thing, or we could do Godwin and just kind of be like, we don't want to get behind
Travis.
I think ETN.
Okay. Fuck.
It's all right. That side of the board's going nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that sucks, but that side of the board is just going absolutely ape shit, and ETN might have made it back. People are losing their minds here.
Thanks for pissing with me. Yeah, 5th round ATN seems just like welcome to Smashville right there.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm just glad it's a friend of the show. You're welcome, Jeff. That might set off the alarms over at Rudman's place. I think he's got, like, you ever go to Planet Fitness? They got the lunk alarm. I think they get the bad draft alarm, and it's in Rudman's bedroom, and it's just like sounding off, and he's checking out this lobby right now. He's like, what the fuck, Najee and ETN in the 50s? Like, what is going on here?
This is a good point. Yeah, this is kind of what I was alluding. How many best ball tournament winners are duped? Like, yeah, it's pretty interesting. It's interesting to think about, because like the combo stuff is, we talked about it yesterday, how in like NBA, we're basically only drafting from like 40 something players each night. And people are like factoring in like building out a little bit of game correlation or bringing in a run back. Not as much so because it's NBA, but that we still don't result in dupes. It's so weird. And those are like,
it is weird,
13 to 16,000 person contests. It's very strange. But I don't think it's a smart exercise in BBM to be worrying about that stuff now, because like if you just worry about your own portfolio, like you're literally only going to get Justin Jefferson 8 times this summer, and some of them are going to be now and some of them are going to be in August, right? Like in that window. And of those teams, they're going to look very different naturally, right?
As ADP fluctuates. Like,
as ADP, it does the work for you. Whereas Neumy's alluding to ADP set, people are going crazy and deviating from ADP in the daily contest.
Like before a lock, right?
Yeah, right before a lock.
Yeah.
Then you can capitalize, right? So it's two shifting dynamics, and they're two completely different ADP landscapes. And to like cross, think about them is going to break our brains, I think. I think we have to treat them as two separate
them
entities.
Daily. My brain goes, it's the same, but just in a small daily slate.
In a small,
it opens up as inefficient. The ADP opens up regardless is super inefficient, and through a small window that's just a very small and time box. I get that versus a BBM, which is near 4.5, 5 months. I totally get that, and that's probably the wrong way to think about it. Is my brain thinks like it opens up inefficient. And then you get people, and then it slowly makes its way. And then especially the weekly NFL, it opens up extremely inefficient, and then it slowly gets that way. And then
Works
obviously
to
drafting
efficiency,
towards lock gives you the best information because we saw it on Sundays countlessly where a guy, we're on
Oni?
the clock here.
No.
Burks.
Fine.
Sorry.
Or
it's
Burks
your
or
team.
Lockett, I guess.
Or Lockett.
I mean,
Lockett
yeah, or
feels
Lockett.
better.
Yeah,
Lockett
I didn't-
feels way better.
you have ranks in. I mean, I do like Burks. Don't get me wrong. I think to your scenario, if we get word, I think I said it before, if we get word Tannehill is there for the
wanted
season,
to take
or
Pitts so badly there.
or if you can put
I agree.
Alexander Madison's now, he's going to get thrusted up because here's the workload. If you can guarantee drafters that Tannehill is going to be there for 17 games, I think Burks immediately is going to move up. But
Yeah.
But it just real quick on that weekly thing is like my brain is just like I see it on we get towards lock, you get towards closer, you have the most information. You have people then drafting Deion Jackson, who's in a winning lineup. You know what I mean? Like it's like someone that throughout Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, none of us talked about once. Saturday, no one was going to talk about, or that's when it happened. And then all of a sudden, it's Sunday morning. JT's out, and now he's the smash, and he's the number one, and you're drafting. So yeah, but I totally get the chalk in the ownership isn't a 1-for-1, and it's more harmful to think that way, and you need to think in two different ways. It's just being in the streets nonstop and playing all of the PGA, the MLB, the NBA, and seeing the way these different mechanics work, and then all of a sudden you have to hop back in. It is tough to just differentiate it. You know what I mean?
Tony,
I would do
Pierce. Tony Pierce Goddard.
Pierce.
I would do Tony, but you can do whatever.
Why are you so out on Tony, Nez?
Yeah, why are you so out on Tony?
Yeah.
Why am I so out on a guy that's perpetually injured, and when he isn't injured, he only plays like 20% of snaps and has an ADP of 70?
Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. I'm just asking. That's why.
Yeah, for Tony to pay off his ADP, like he needs to do something that he's never done. I just don't like betting on that.
But you could say that analogy you could say about any rookie ever or any backup running back ever or every like do something that he hasn't done. I get it. I'm just pushing back.
But we have NFL sample sizes with Tony.
Okay. Yeah,
but
not
we haven't had a sample size with him tied to the dude you just said last stream. Look at this guy. It's Patrick Mahomes. This isn't Daniel Jones in the Giants offense. This is they don't have anyone else there besides Travis Kelce, brother.
And he had a record-setting season with that cast.
Okay.
The thing is like,
and everyone's joke is MVS. Like Juju's gone. Sky Moore, everyone's joke. Like I get. For me, I think it would be if you were to compare Sky Moore and Tony in their ADPs. That would make sense. I don't know. If you have Mahomes, for me, I would be willing to take the bet. That's when I'm going to take the bet on Tony. Maybe even Burrow. You know what I mean? You take the bet on Tony. I'm not saying I'm fully in and I'm thinking he's going to break out. I just don't. I think for me, he's hard to write off because I don't want to miss on that.
Can I ask you guys, like, what do you think Tony has to do to pay off his ADP? How many do you think he's going to play? How many games do you think he plays?
14. So let's say he plays 14 games. He goes 900 yards and goes 6 touchdowns. He pays off his ADP.
No, he doesn't.
Tethered to Mahomes? Yeah, he does.
Do you think 900 yards and 6 touchdowns pays off a 6-round ADP?
Yep. This early in draft season? Yep. I do. I actually do.
Strongly disagree.
Yep, that's fair.
That is.
I mean, I don't think he's on.
Look at the stats of guys that go around. Like, you want to?
I'm saying he pays off his ADP. I'm not suggesting he wins you a contest or pushes you through. I'm saying he pays off his ADP.
But it doesn't, because guys around him score more.
Okay.
like if he's
that's fair.
He's
that's
not
fair.
outperforming the guys going around him.
Look. I'll just my stance.
I would
on
agree.
Him is like,
I would agree in a vacuum. It would just be tethered to Mahomes makes it different. Would be like my counter. Because if you could
those numbers aren't worth more just because you're Mahomes wide receiver.
Yeah, they are, because if you push him if you push him through and he's not like the guy you need to get through, and then you have him in the postseason as tethered to Mahomes, that stack equity is worth more.
But then
so I don't
the numbers,
care what his
the numbers
raw
you said
output
don't.
is.
Okay, so you don't. Okay, so he pays off his ADP if you just backpack him in the playoffs and he
Yes.
goes off. Like,
Yeah.
all right. I guess I just don't really like that argument because that's like you can say that's very hypothetical. You can say it about almost everybody. But
Agreed.
I want to hear
Yes,
what you
could
have to say,
about almost
Neumy.
everybody. Yeah, let's make the pick and then Neumy tell me. We could do Tua with Tyreek and shut it down.
No, same bye week. I wouldn't do that. Juju or Evan Ingram, I think.
Okay. We made a little bit of Chargers bet and then doubled down. Okay, yes. Tell me on sell me Neumy or
I don't want to just make it come off like I'm like now pro Kadarius Toney.
No,
like,
I like that you have a take. Like I want to hear.
I think I'm not totally out on him. And my only thing is he's a third coming into a third year wide receiver. I think everyone likes to be you get into the fantasy bubble and everyone kind of retorts the same thing. They get the same information. It's going, Tony didn't learn the system. Tony can't do this. Tony can't do that. Tony. My case would be a third year wide receiver that the Chiefs traded for. The Kansas City Chiefs, we view them as a smart organization. Your former first round pick, maybe he wasn't worthy of that. We don't have to get into that. But what if we're just wrong? And he's tethered to a generational quarterback that we've seen. And we're totally wrong. And then next year he pays off this. Like for me, this is like the Gabe Davis bet tethered to, we saw Gabe Davis in the playoffs. That's totally different, but it's tethered to Josh Allen. I just see as a third year wide receiver, why can't Tony make that leap? Why can't he learn the system? Why can't he gain the trust of the Chiefs and perform and stay healthy? Like why can't that happen?
There's the kicker.
And I get it. And I get your rebuttal is at a 70 price. And I agree with that. I'm not taking him unless I'm normally stacking him with Mahomes, or if there's a drop on him, all of a sudden I see it's like 90s and there's a wide receiver avalanche. Normally doesn't happen. I mean, and that's my only thing is, but I'm not out on Mahomes stacks with him. So,
do you guys want to make this pick with me? I like Tyler Boyd as a run back and Tyler Boyd just in general.
I do too. Like I'm really warming up to Tyler Boyd.
Do you guys like anybody else?
No, I think Boyd makes a lot of sense here. I mean, you could maybe go a tight end, but I think with Taylor and Pierce, like we set ourselves really nicely at the running back position to start hammering some more wideouts here, and our wideouts are already pretty good.
Yeah. Okay, but Neumy's alluded to like a good bull case, right? The good bull case is he stays healthy, he's tethered to Mahomes, he's generational quarterback, blah blah blah.
Yeah, but which is why he goes where he goes for sure.
No, of course, yeah. But Neumy, what does he have to do to pay off his ADP? I think is the question. What do you think he needs to pay off his ADP? Yeah.
I mean, I think obviously he needs to put up 1,000, like, and can he do it? Like, then this is where it gets crazy. Like, I think it's 1,000 yards, 5 touchdowns, something like that. You get him in is that like that? Yeah,
is that enough?
Or it's less yardage and he just finds himself into the end zone more, and all of a sudden he's now absorbed literally into that gadget player that they've wanted. He's doing everything that Hardman that he was doing before. Doing this yada yada, you know what I mean? He finds himself and he's just all of a sudden it's like he's like McKinnon, where it's like, oh my goodness, look, it's Jerick McKinnon for weeks and weeks and weeks, but it's just Tony getting in the right place at the right time, getting the ball in his hands, and then just playmaking afterwards. Like I just think that's also in the realm of possibilities. But to pay off his ADP, 1,000 yards, 5 TDs, or maybe like anything else less than that, like 600-700 double-digit touchdowns. I don't know. I just think I'm willing to take the bet and on him with Mahomes teams. I just don't want to be left in the dark for if he goes off. But that's also limiting me to where it's like I'm not going to get super exposed to him, and I'm not also taking him on all Patrick Mahomes teams because a lot of the times he is just being taken solo, and the other people are doing the thing that I don't want. So
I see both angles here because Chip's alluding to the same thing here, right? He's like, he sees Mahomes score 400 plus points last year and none of his wide receivers matter either. Yeah, I think there's a lot here. And there was I want to bring this up because when Neumy was saying something there. I thought of this thread who Easy was a part of, who's in the draft, and Dwayne McFarland talking about like widest range of outcomes, and like he was on a show with Mark yesterday or maybe the day before or something like that, and they're talking through like how this game has nothing to do with like how we feel about players, and it has to do with what are the ranges of outcome. And like in terms of like Tony, he has some of the widest flat out period anywhere, right?
And I think Nez and here
sorry.
let's
who do you guys like here?
I mean, we could do Texan Stark if we wanted.
These
to.
rankings are throwing me off. I would like these running. I like this running back range a lot.
Yeah,
so.
pick one of those running backs that you like there.
Do you like Samaje or do you like?
No, I don't like Samaje at all.
I like Mitchell or Gibson.
I do. You know, I like Mitchell.
Yeah, I like Mitchell more than Gibson.
And I think basically, if I can just like Nez is just like Nez is viewing this as those range of outcomes, and at that price, he doesn't view it that type of like it's just not that enough player you want to buy into because one, you just don't think he can hit his ceiling range of outcomes.
So here's one of the things I would say, man, and Dwayne McFarland is like one of my favorite analysts. Like he does so much good stuff with like Fantasy Life now. Like I've always been a big fan of his. Like his hypothetical is like if Tony gets 130 targets, like I will damn near guarantee you Kadarius Toney is not getting 130 targets. He just is way too fragile. Yeah. He's just way too fragile.
That was
like the ceiling outcome, right?
I'm looking for
that's like if like
maybe
he like
gains
like 20 pounds of muscle and grows like a couple inches. You said that Rondale Moore fits the same narrative. Are you about to say Nez thinks that you're dumb as fuck and he doesn't respect you? Is that what you're about to say?
No, I'm literally like, am I an idiot? Like, where are am I in the replies right now? I'm not even in the replies right now.
You are. Are you blind?
The replies.
Yeah, but like I'm literally looking for like the thread that like you would think that the conversation that Mark and Easy had in these replies would be like sitting right there.
Yeah, no, Elon is the worst.
Yeah, fuck new Twitter.
It's very bad. It's very bad.
Yeah.
No, you have to like go to Mark's and then go into his like tweets and replies and then click that. Yeah, it's quite.
Yeah, Boomer John, right? Yeah, Easy's in the chat. Easy's in the chat, and he's in our draft. So I don't know. It sparked this conversation. I just wanted to bring it up for everyone to then see.
And again,
we could double down at running back. We could do.
What about the
Rasheed
Rice stack?
Yeah,
are people scared of Samaje for Dalvin Cook? Is that what I'm seeing right now?
Probably.
I just don't think like the volume will be there for Samaje likely, but like especially when it comes to
I think he should be in the 120. Like I normally haven't taken him. I just haven't seen him drop. That's my question.
I think it's so silly that he goes above Khalil Herbert. Like the offense that we just saw with Denver was we are banking on them improving, and I do think they'll improve. But P. Ryan in the playoffs, like what's he even going to be there? Like if Javonte comes back, I don't know. I just
if they sign someone, if they whatever. Yeah.
I'm gonna wait for like boots to drop before I start taking P. Ryan.
Yeah, let's close the book on the Tony thing for a second. Yeah, range outcomes, blah, blah. Like, I guess what's the difference in making the Tony bet and making the Rice bet that we just made with like 6 rounds discount?
6 rounds discount?
Yeah, 6 rounds of ADP.
No, that's my point. Yeah. You guys missed the point. What's the difference in betting on Rice or betting on Tony? Like between those two players, those two profiles, the two whatever. You know what I mean?
Like besides the difference in ADP?
Cost? Guys, I was making a pro not taking Tony. Never mind. This went over you guys' head. The analogy.
Was that a hypothetical? Was that a rhetorical question then?
Yeah, it was like a rhetorical question. It was like an analogy. It was like what's the difference? We just made the same bet but at a 6-round discount. Right? Like I was like patting us all on the back right now.
Yeah. Good job. We're so smart. We are so smart.
Like this was the thesis all along. It was just like,
Yeah.
Here you go.
If Tony turns into a healthy yak god, like I might it's gonna be a bad.
You might yak.
A bad. Yeah, I might yak. It'll be a really bad fall and winter for me. It was like one of the things coming into this season.
Thank you, Chip. This is what I was
alluding to. Yeah, they're the same picture. Yeah, Tony's definitely like something that like I'm really scared of being wrong about. Really, really scared of being wrong about. Because
I've had flashes of Tony in the Jerick McKinnon role. And it's just I think he can play it better. And I get the injuries. I am not refuting him staying healthy. I mean, seeing the list and seeing how it's played out, I agree. He's probably not going to stay healthy.
But you know, I think you're right though, Neumy. I think like if he is to hit his ADP, I think it is in that Jerick McKinnon-esque style of production where he's just so stupid efficient and he gets there on like 30% snap share because like in the red zone, like you cannot guard Tony and keep an eye on Travis Kelce and like stop the run all at once.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
But I mean, this all won't matter when Tony's hurt in week 2. So, I mean,
hurt all season, comes back for the playoffs, three touchdowns every game.
I got the Tony comp. You guys ready for the Tony comp? Curtis Samuel.
Waiting all show.
Curtis Samuel.
What's the difference in Kadarius Toney and Curtis Samuel? Curtis Samuel
fucking tough, dude. That's the difference.
Yeah, but like we did this with Curtis Samuel so many times when he was in Carolina, right? We just like bought into this like, oh, he's gonna have this gadget usage. He's gonna be the jet sweep guy. He's gonna be fast. He's gonna break tackle, blah blah blah. And then what happens every single year? He just gets hurt, right? It feels similar.
He paid off last year.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I'm not. But that's when he pays off. It's because he was at a huge Stark discount.
Yeah.
The one thing we've done year over year, and we've alluded to before with the Chiefs and searching for that WR1 or that WR2 who's going to become a WR1 on the Chiefs, is we've done this every year. McCole Hardman at the 5-6 or at the 4-5 turn. Juju Smith-Schuster last year at the 3-4 turn. We've done this every year, just being like, let's encapsulate that one who's tethered to. Alec Pierce, kind of a polarizing pick just in general here. We could double down on the Cincinnati bring back with Irv Smith.
Okay.
Do you like it, or are you just how about
Alec
Pierce?
I do like Pierce.
Okay. Pierce is interesting. I brought it up on Ship Chasing the other night that Pierce is in ETR. If you have their ranks in there, you will never draft Alec Pierce. Alec Pierce is
so
like buried, right?
Which is weird.
Then, yeah,
to me, because like
Pat like
because I guess and I'm not going to pretend that like I know everything about Anthony Richardson, but I think Anthony Richardson's knock was that like the median range balls are like not his like strong suit, but he has a nice deep ball. And isn't Alec Pierce like an over-the-top type of wideout? Like, I guess if we're going to try to, paint a bull case, it's like Pierce fits what supposedly Anthony Richardson does well.
Yeah.
And they lost Paris Campbell. They brought in Downs, though. So I guess that's like that definitely cancels out, maybe even negates a little bit of the Pierce steam. But I like Pierce. That was a tough spot. Like all the running backs are gone. Everybody finally loaded up on running back, and now we have like some tight ends that are becoming available. Who's our tight end? We have Ingram.
No, we yes, we have Evan Ingram right now. Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. I would probably start thinking about tight end or reaching at running back.
Okay. I mean, we are joining that pocket of the draft where we kind of hate every Ingram's bye week is 9. We could just do the Schultz and be like, fuck the run back. Let's buy a little bit of discount. And maybe there's a little backstack potential there, given that we have Pierce as well.
Schultz and Pierce. How does that backstack? I mean, I like Schultz.
Damian.
Oh, sorry. You said, yeah, no, I like that. Yeah. And then maybe
not Alec Pierce.
Stroud.
Maybe
look
Pierce.
at Stroud for a,
many are saying all the Pierces are coming together with this build.
All the Pierces are finally falling into place.
Am I the only one that's confused that CJ Stroud has is going below Bryce Young?
I mean, I'm not confused. Young was the number 1 overall pick.
I get that, but I don't know. I like CJ Stroud. It's just we've seen Bryce Young, right? Like we've seen those things. We've seen it coming in, how short he is. I think we want to talk about guys that are going to get hurt in the NFL. It just takes one large individual that is running after him, that falls on top of him, yada, yada, yada. I don't know. For me, I've just been, I don't know if I have any Bryce Young, and I have quite a bit of CJ Stroud.
Yeah.
I definitely have more Stroud than Young.
It's an interesting point from DJ too. Like baking in worst case, like take it away from the Tony narrative, like just baking in, like considering worst case injury outcomes, like just taking it out of your mind. But I don't know. There is something when there's like history attached to it, although like historical injuries isn't really like a thing. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, I think in Tony's case, it's different. Like if there's this many patterns, I think you can make that case because of
100%.
because like if there wasn't a Tony injury issue, like he would be going at like the 4-5.
Yeah. Okay.
But even still, like he's just so polarizing.
Yeah, he's a very polar. I mean, that's where you're going to get the debates, right? Like we came in
that's
here.
Why, yeah.
We came in here and just talked about Christian Kirk. Like you're not going to get a debate like that. You know what I mean? You're not going to.
Right. Yeah.
You're only going to get it from these certain guys, and it's just any show, any individuals. I don't think are going to have the same. Even if you agree, I think it's going to be a different way to agree. You're going to be like, Yeah, that's kind of what we're getting at, both the same thing. Or even if you do 100% agree, it's still gonna you put a third person in there and they're gonna have a differing view. Like, yeah, it's just that's why I had to bite my tongue, and I'm like, I still think Dalvin Cook's got something left in the tank, but whatever. That's just me.
You could have spoke up.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy? What do you like? Well, no, I don't want to project injuries, but I'm just like, I don't know. One example that I think is like kind of interesting is like Lamar Jackson hasn't finished a season in the last 2 years.
Yep.
And is he? And I don't think you draft. I still think you draft as if he does play, because it's like that is clearly just like noise, but also it comes with the profile. I don't know. I guess I don't really have anything to take away from that. I just think
I don't know.
Like, I just distinctly remember, because I've had some really, 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 really good Lamar teams that get screwed because dude isn't there when I need him most.
I'm now off Lamar Jackson because he's not there when the money is made. So, I now know to draft a second elite quarterback, because Lamar Jackson will only get me to the promised land. He will, or only get me that to the steps. He won't actually get me up there.
All right, I'll be right back. I want you guys to surprise me with this pick.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
No, surprise you, huh? Okay.
So I don't think you want us to surprise you with this pick, because I'm scrolling way the F down right now.
Yeah, we're in the depths. We're in the depths, Nez. Yeah,
okay. I think we need running back.
I do too.
Mostert, Foreman, Jeff Wilson.
Who do you want?
Spears. I was scrolling the F down for Chuba, but it might just be like an over correlated mess. I think making the Mostert bet makes a lot of sense when you've already made a mini bet on Tyreek too.
Okay. Yeah, it was either going to be Mostert or our guy that we were just talking about with Pete, that I find myself taking the most of in that backfield is Foreman. So,
yeah. For whatever reason, I'm scared of Foreman, but
don't get me wrong. The profile and what he's done. He had one good year in Carolina, maybe like an adequate year before. Like he doesn't have. He's coming in there with two younger guys. I'm assuming, right? Like he's the oldest of the three, especially a rookie coming out there. I think that's my thought. I don't know how young D'Onta Foreman actually is.
He's not
27, so he's got to be the oldest. But so either way. I don't know. That backfield to me, I think it's really up for grabs. As much as people want to say it's Khalil Herbert, and maybe that's just my wrong take.
No, that backfield's definitely up for grabs. You're 100% correct.
But I like Pete said, I want to mix more, like all of them in. I want to make the same bets.
Yep.
but I just find myself with Roschon and Foreman more just because of the price.
Yep. I think you're correct in
that's
doing so.
And in that same range, I like Elijah Mitchell. I like when Antonio Gibson sometimes falls. I like when the other backs are there over Khalil Herbert. You know what I mean? Because they seem like better backs.
Back up. Holy shit.
We took Mostert. We're back up again here. I think we just reach on CJ Stroud because this team doesn't make sense without him.
You think we have to? It's so early.
I don't know.
I think we could take Foreman here, couldn't we? And get Stroud on the way back? Because who would want to take
Sometimes
Stroud?
you guys forget we're on stream, but
we do. But you gotta live a little.
Sure, but we have back stacks, don't we?
Not really.
We have one.
I think you could shut it down at running back now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I like here because now we could shut it down. We're not, and Foreman. We just talked about how I would have taken him there. So
my favorite, call him a parachute. My favorite, like emergency second QB if I need to, is just Tannehill.
Yeah, that's fair.
He's always there. He's just
the problem is there's nothing to tether him to.
Yeah,
like if you don't take Treylon early, there's just nothing to Westbrook Akina. Like you take him with like the 18th round and like tie him to that and make this a 2 tight end build. I don't know. I was thinking through paths there, and I really liked if you take Stroud there instead of because like making the Foreman bet for me is like what's the difference in making the Lenny, Zeke, or Hunt bet in the 17th or 16th here. So I was really thinking through if you just take the quarterback there and you just say whatever, we're building out that stack. Then you also open yourself up to Robert Woods in the 18th or something because I was thinking through Renfro as a run back off of JT if he came back. Or Mechie right there. Like I didn't think both of them were going to go here as like, then it makes sense for our roster. Right. It makes sense for our roster. And then we take Stroud. We take the gamble on Stroud because we got some added like that. Like taking Foreman here, just like it doesn't correlate and it's just a bet on a running back when I could just take another running back later. And then Stroud just goes at 118 because we're on stream.
Yeah, because that's what I wanted to see who had Nico and where Nico went on the board. And if he went on that back end, then yeah, it was probably the better choice to take Stroud.
Yeah, because it's such an easy double tap. And like you talk about ceiling outcomes for quarterbacks there. When we were looking at quarterback, it was Jordan Love and like nobody else. So now we put ourselves in a fun situation that we're gonna carve ourselves out of here. So let's think of a fun little back stack or something that we can make this make sense.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We could take
who's our tight ends?
Ingram and Houston Schultz.
Are we taking a third?
We might have to now.
I probably would.
So we could take.
You could do New England.
I was just gonna. That was my thought.
That's
the only option I'm trying to think.
Okay, let's take Mac Jones first. He's gone. There you go.
Asset. What are we doing?
You want to put in Richie James? Bryce? Okay, let's just do Bryce Young.
Oh yeah, I want Richie James. You're right.
Oh, I like this.
Come on.
I like this.
Oh
wow, your internet's getting faster.
Quick, man. That was quick.
Well, there's an option here.
Yeah, well, that's kind of why I like that. The other one was Jimmy G. Jimmy G was an easy one there because it's also a run back off of JT. That's easy game. And then and Michael Mayer was
I guess I'm just thinking like here. With Mahomes, we're mostly just looking for somebody to just like not give us a 0 in the bye week. And otherwise, we plan on starting Mahomes almost every single week.
Jordan Love plus Musgrave.
That would have been that would have been nice.
On one there.
Chat, that's still available.
Yeah, but Randall Cunningham is likely to probably take a second QB. Well, okay. Let's let everybody know we want Hayden Hurst. I would like Hayden Hurst, but John, this is you can be the arbiter of that decision because this is your entry, but to me this is a 3 tight end team.
Yeah. I think it has to be now. Just to remind because the overlay is breaking. We have
what's really
we have Ingram and Schultz.
Oh, you know what's so sexy about this team? We got we get Bryce Young, right?
Yeah, we got Bryce Young.
With like the double bring back with the Jags, man, this team just got really, really hot in a hurry.
Oh.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does play out.
So
Jags, Panthers, man. Kitty cat fight.
Panther are we taking here?
I think you saved the one that you put in the chat because that's who I wanted to, but I think Nez has a good point about Hayden Hurst here. We do this and then we try and do that as well. And we can kind of like, okay, this is a fun exercise because we threw ourselves into this. There's some interesting, just like salvage your ass, like last 2 round, like back stacks, right?
Yeah.
Because we could go one of the Washington quarterbacks, whomever you like there, and then you can do like Logan Thomas. Like it feels so gross, but you can do that. If Mac Jones was still there like he normally is, you can do Mac Jones, Devontae Parker, Hunter Henry, or Mike Gesicki, right? Like those are all available. And Ty Montgomery. Ty Montgomery is a wide receiver on this site.
Is he?
So like you could, so you could do something like that. I think so. Yeah, Ty Montgomery.
You guys want to know one of my favorite tight ends right now? And I know you, but he just went, and it's with an Aaron Rodgers stack. That's Tyler Conklin.
Yeah,
he's been going like a guy that's been in the 6th, 17th, 18th that I've been able to get.
Yeah.
And I wanted to, like when Pete was talking about, the Geno to Noah Fant, yada, yada. Like I've been Conklin has been a fun click. Just when you have Aaron Rodgers and Wilson or Lazard, add Conklin on there. Like
I'm surprised he isn't going higher.
It's been a fun. It's fun. I think he has I don't know. He has another quarterback like Aaron Rodgers. That's for sure.
Yeah. This is Chippy. You're gonna get put in timeout if you don't think I got the fastest fingers in the West. We're going toe to toe. It's gonna be like a quick draw. It's gonna be like when 2 guys meet in the desert. They pace it out 5 steps and they go back and forth. One guy from the West, one guy from the East, and we're gonna quick draw me versus Pete. Some other ones that I was thinking through there before the Conklin stuff was Jimmy G, and then, Mayer's there almost every single time, whether you think Jimmy G is going to be the quarterback or not. Baker Mayfield and Cade Otton as an emergency one.
You know what? What's pretty interesting? You talk about the Raiders. In the Athletic, the Raiders beats are strongly hypothesizing that Renfrow is a trade candidate.
Huh.
And if that took place, that would definitely I'd be
my man.
I'd be all the way back.
It makes sense. It makes sense.
They drafted this guy in the 3rd round who I don't even really know.
And they paid Jacoby Myers.
Shout out to Legendary Upside, by the way. Pat has Pat has an entire section in his server where he just gets screen grabs of Athletic articles. And that's where I saw this, but the Athletic was the one reporting it. Let me actually find this shit.
Charles with another one here, Love plus Kraft, and just betting the other side because everybody's been betting the Musgrove side. Okay, shoot. So did Richie James go?
Okay, you have James, Justin Ross is there too, Deneric Pierce. But I think the Chiefs sign one of these dusty boys, and that'll really cause some chaos. But I do like Richie James, man.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't really know what you were alluding to when you went with that roundabout. Okay, so Richie James is the pick then, because we were going to go Terrence Marshall and run it back off of Bryce there, but KZ took him.
Yeah, KZ wanted to see the Neumy tilt in action.
Wanted to see some pain. I like it. I respect it.
Is somebody on stream leaking this info to try to get some Neumy tilt happening? One is wondering.
Nice one. Yo, appreciate. Yeah, good draft.
Yeah.
Good draft, my friend.
Thanks for
taking all the wide receivers. Yeah, Visca as an easy back one. Yeah, good draft there. Assets in here as well. Shouts. I'm trying to think through. So Baker Mayfield plus Cade Otton is there.
Were you not listening to the stream 5 minutes ago? Nez
did I say that one already?
No, Nez.
Okay.
I just
Desmond Ritter plus Mac Hollins.
Yeah, I do think Hollins is interesting. I think he will get some steam. I think I'm crazy, but like I'm Brissett over Sam Howell.
Well, I mean, Crane feels that way too, so you're not in bad company.
Crane has like this like shield of like he's like vulnerable to any sort of criticism because he won $2 million and he can say what the hell he wants because who cares? He has $2 million. Like I have this little stream here. I gotta be careful. I love naming NFL players, but man, I really think Brissett can start there.
Nandi, awesome, random NFL.
Yeah, I mean he's looked good. All right, let's recap it. We took a slight detour there from the thesis, but I think we landed the plane, boys.
As always.
I think maybe it plays better. I don't know. Let's see.
This is our most unique running back room so far on stream.
Yes, I do definitely agree with that. All right, we went with the 2-5-8-3 Patrick Mahomes at pick 29. We scooped up that and then Bryce Young, which I guess. All right. Taylor, Pierce, Mitchell, Mostert, Foreman. Not formidable, but not bad. Definitely could, if we hit on these last two backfields, there's something there. Tyreek, Kirk, Godwin, Lockett, Boyd, Rice, Pierce, James. So the less coveted double stack of Mahomes. And then Ingram, Schultz, Hurst. What do you guys think?
It's a good team, man. It's a really good team. If JT, if there's flop lag on JT and it turns out that he should be going where McCaffrey goes, I think that's what this team needs. This team really needs JT to lay his nuts on the table and get out there.
Nez, can you do me a favor and drop your sheet in the chat, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. Kid Cuddy, no MLB today. We've already ran 2 hours here and did this draft. I don't mind taking a look at some futures for 5 seconds, but that's about it. But Nez has done a full write-up with some pick'ems and some whatever that he is going to drop in the chat right now. So that can kind of cover our bases with the MLB slate today. Big slate, right? 10 gamer, 12 gamer?
13. Try 13.
Wow. Yeah, 13 gamer be too hard to get into there, but Nez just dropped the Google Doc in there, so it's got some readings for you. How would one order a BadgeBros shirt? This is an evergreen question. Thank you for asking, George McCaffrey. In the link in the bio below in Pete's store, you just go ahead, click that one, and it'll be at your door in about 3 days. It is pretty good. And there you go. Nez doing the good work.
I'm in there. I'm working
dropping
overtime.
It in the chat. Working overtime. It's in the Overzet store there. So the links are just there. If this was your first time hanging out with us, please do us a favor and hit that like and subscribe, that notification bell on the way out the door. Do wonders for us. Get to that race to 1K so we can get the Neumy tilt emoji. And then do not forget, if you want to order some stuff from Pete's store, free $100 gift card giveaway for this show only. Drop something in the comments there. Give the thumbs up, and we will go ahead and draw a winner on, what do you guys say, Monday? Or Wednesday? One of the two.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, well, I think we'll probably do Wednesday. We'll give it a little time to run, or maybe Monday. One of the two. Yeah, I don't know.
Sounds good. For those of you who do not know what Carlos is alluding to right here, brand new feature of Underdog Fantasy that they did not have last year. A lot of fun. Rudman came on the show and told us that his favorite part of football and stuff is just call your damn shot. Put it up there, and he would rather be right than make money and stuff like this. Well, this gives you the opportunity to do both. Call your shots for the season long. They have projections and props up here. We will pick out some of our favorite. We were going to do something kind of like this, and then we landed the big dog Pete on the show anyways. So we'll do something like this in the future. And another suggestion from the chat today that we're kind of thinking about too is when they get those big high dollar fast drafts in there, tag teaming it up and either taking on Pete or doing one with Pete. So lots of fun stuff going on. Underdog Fantasy, lots of fun stuff going on with the BadgeBros right now. Gentlemen, on our way out the door, any parting shots, any parting words?
Have a great weekend, everybody.
Oh, you're too nice. Neumy?
Same. Ditto.
Have a good weekend. Thumbs up. That's the look of a man who cannot wait for the RBC Canadian Championship Round 2 to take place today. All right.
I'm getting my ass kicked, brother. I don't even want to look at golf
early,
right now.
early tea time.
No, all of my guys have like -12. Bad.
Oh,
it's bad.
Man. Appreciate everyone being here. Appreciate everyone hanging out. Love it, love it, love it. Yes, best of luck to everybody this weekend. And Neumy, do enjoy. I think you should leave. That would be fun. Yep, best of luck to everybody in the Zamboni finals as well. Good shout there. Florida to a late goal last night and then a goal in overtime. Matthew Tkachuk taking over. So 2-1 in that series. Yeah, it's getting fun.
I don't know if you also saw super friend of the show, Chippy.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. Keep that going. I'm pretty sure he's tied for the lead in the dance.
Wow. Love it. I mean, I'm sick of this guy. He wins everything now. I mean, Chip, we might be having Mount Rushmore conversations with Chip soon. This is insane. He's taking everything down.
It's a fraud. Yeah, comes in here acting like no, I don't know anything. I click buttons. Yeah, my ass. Freaking Brick Jr. over there running the Sims anyway.
I love it. All right.
Yeah, end it up.
And yeah, we'll hit the wrap it up box. On behalf of the Badge I am John. This is Neumy. That is Nez. We will be in your draft lobbies for the remainder of the weekend. Everybody's favorite time of the show. The